Afternoon all. I'd like to show you a cute attacking game of a young Hikaru Nakamura when he was only about 11 years old, approaching his 12th birthday I believe, in the Washington Eastern Open of 1999. He was rated only 2204, so just above 2200 at this stage, and his opponent slightly higher rated. Oladepu Olatu Adu was 2254, so Hikaru kicked off with e4, and Adu for short played the Sicilian defence. After knight f3, d6 we see an open Sicilian. Knight takes d4, e6, knight c3, and now a6. Hikaru plays f4, and this means actually that the queen, this is quite a dangerous line with the queen coming here, and potentially a later g4, g5 plan. We see knight c6, bishop e3 supporting the knight. Now after knight f6, the queen is free to go to f3, protecting the e4 pawn. Okay, so queen c7, white castles queenside, bishop d7, and now this very aggressive g4. Very dangerous line for black. So black has to be very careful. He played actually knight takes d4, and after bishop takes d4, bishop c6. Okay, now in this position you might think, well, can white just carry on with g5? Possibly black can just use this plan to reroute the knight to c5. But white actually plays the interesting bishop takes f6, so Hikaru's voluntarily giving up his dark square bishop. This bishop is not so useful at the moment. We see after g takes f6, f5. You might think it has this diagonal though, but actually black has to be concerned about the d6 pawn and also the f6 pawn. Immediately white is threatening to take on e6 and play queen takes f6. So black actually plays bishop e7. And then we see bishop c4, trying to encourage the move e5 from black, in which case white will have that d5 square under lock and key. Black tries to play energetically with b5, the bishop drops back, and now b4. So aggressive moves from black, and only after the knight moves away from that d5 square that now black plays e5. His pawn was under fire on e6. Okay, but the knight after knight g3 is threatening the nasty knight h5 in conjunction with g5 or queen h5. These represent quite serious threats. Black tries to generate counterplay with a5, and it looks initially, well, at least the rook, bishop and queen are potentially attacking white. Okay, we see king b1 after a4, just bishop c4 here. There's no tactic at the moment for bishop takes e4, queen can take, but after rook c8 there might be a threat now from black of bishop takes e4. So Hikaru plays b3. Okay, and this is still quite dangerous now for black. White might just play g5 here. It seems a very dangerous idea, and if black takes then f6, otherwise queen h5, putting a lot of pressure on black's position as well. g5 will make way for queen h5 as well on the f7 pawn. We see actually queen b7 here. Now queen e2 threatens simply bishop a6, forcing the rook away, or something to be done about bishop a6. We see rook b8, and now rook he1, nicely centralizing white's pieces. But where is the pawn break? Okay, rook g8. Hikaru protects that pawn, which frees the queen actually. Now it doesn't have to protect the pawn potentially. And we see after queen d7, queen d2, potentially the threatening queen h6 on h7, followed by knight h5 on f6. So both these pawns could be potentially menaced. Rook g5 trying to stop queen h6. Knight h5. Okay, now in this position, black played queen b7, and there's a slight weakness of the last move, that this pawn is only protected by the bishop. And Hikaru exploits this kind of weakness of the last move with a powerful forcing move. I wonder if you can guess it. If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, Hikaru plays knight takes f6. So immediately he's picking up 2 pawns for the knight. But what to do about this bishop now? And there's other threats as well if this bishop moves. This is a very dangerous situation. If the bishop moves to g7, maybe f6, for example. Well, black tried bishop e7, giving up e5 straight off the bat. Queen takes e5, so 3 pawns for the knight. And there's a very dangerous threat of queen h8 check here. Because actually, if the bishop drops back, then there's queen f6, and the rook is embarrassed, potentially. It's getting a bit tricky to protect that rook. Maybe something like h6, but it's still tricky. Black tries in this position f6, and we see queen e6. Now, the f7 square is threatened with mate in 1. Black parries that with rook g7. And now Hikaru plays e5. And you might think, well, Hikaru's only 2204. This might be a slight blunder. Did he miss black's next move? Was this an unfortunate blunder? Bishop d7. Because he doesn't really want to get the queens off with a move like queen a6. Surely this is not the intention. Rook d7 doesn't seem that strong. Well, this is a remarkable thing that happens here, actually. He doesn't want to play either queen d5. Basically, you know, he might be giving black some chances if the queens come off. The rooks are nicely in the centre. Black king's in the centre. Can you guess what Hikaru plays here? If I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, now this is an amazing move. I've actually engine checked this game earlier, and the engine agrees. Queen takes f6. A stunning move, celebrating both of the rooks in the centre, blasting down the board here. Black has little choice, really. There are numerous threats on the rook, etc. Little choice but to take that queen. So we see bishop takes, e takes. Okay, 1 bishop for the queen. Where can the king go, though? If the king goes to d8, then f takes g7, threatening the queen. So the king goes to f8. F takes g7, rook and knight now for queen. After king takes g7, check. Now rook, knight and bishop for queen. But leaving a situation 2 rooks against the queen, because Hikaru could sacrifice the knight before. So we've got this imbalance, which usually, if the rooks can be coordinated, this favours the person with the 2 rooks. It depends how coordinated they are against the queen. We see queen e4, but here king safety is also a major role. White's king is very safe compared to black's. In fact, Hikaru plays now g5, which is a very, very powerful move, because after king takes g5, rook g1, this is a knockout blow. Black felt the need to resign here. It is a hopeless position. He loses the queen if he plays king h4. If he plays king h4, there's rook g4, for example. Or, even stronger, just using the fact that this rook's cutting off, just rook takes h7 is mate. So forget even just taking the queen. The same with king h5. Rook takes h7 is mate. King f7, we can just play a check here, and in this variation win the queen quite brutally like this, actually, chase to win the queen purely without any compromise. So it's actually a hopeless position after this g5 check. The only one we haven't seen, I think, is king takes f5. In this case, check, and again this check here, just winning the queen. So Hikaru really smashed the opponent from one slight slip, for the opponent giving a kind of weakness of the last move. Hikaru sacrificed the knight initially for 2 pawns, then the queen. So a stunning game when he was only 2204 in the Washington Eastern Open of 1999. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.